Hi, I'm Streaky from Streaky.com. Today I tell you what I think is the future of mastering. So I'm Streaky, I'm a mastering engineer. I've been mastering for about 25 years for super high end, super low end and everybody in between. I've worked on loads and loads of different projects. I've worked at loads of different studios. I'm quite experienced in the world of mastering. Now, I'm always thinking about where mastering's going, and I'm obsessed with it obviously, and sound in general and everything else to do with pro audio. So where do I think the future of mastering is going? As we're entering into 2019, then I think that from where we are and what the current scenario is, I feel that there's obviously LANDR. So what do I firstly think about LANDR, which is automated mastering, if you've not seen that or used it. So there's other ones out there, Cloud Bounce and things. Now they are things you can throw a mix into just to get a rough idea of how that mix will sound when it's mastered. There's two stages of mastering. Let's say this first of all to understand what we're talking about here. The first stage is to get you in the ballpark. So when you start, you hear a track, you hear how it should sound, you can get it in the ballpark within about 5 minutes, just so it's at the right level, it's kind of the bass is right and the thing, and then you spend about half an hour to an hour doing final tweaks, which is the sort of next stage of, like a really full-on thing. Now, I personally think that LANDR at the moment and Cloud Bounce and all these things only could do that first stage. They only get you to in the ballpark. So I think at the moment, I think they could get better in time. Of course, human learning on that software will only get better. So in the future, I think that's going to get better and better. I think that you're going to see more and more people using plugins and trying to do their own mastering. I see a lot more of that now. A lot of people ask me a lot more questions about mastering. So when I first started, no one really knew that much about mastering. Only people at record labels knew. And mastering was very much a thing just to get your music to a media platform like a vinyl record or a CD or a DAT or whatever going back. So it was that's what it was for. So obviously nobody in the outside world of music really needed to understand mastering. But now, because everything's expanded out and we've got streaming and people just want to go straight from their laptop to a streaming service, of course they need to know every process and they want to learn that. So I think the future of that is going to be a lot stronger. More people are going to be wanting to know how to master, and especially their stuff, so they can get it in the ballpark again. I think you're only going to get it to that stage on your own without really diving deep into mastering and really understanding the kind of tips and tricks that are in that second stage. So that first stage is fine. You'll get it loud, you'll get it to a level, you'll get it balanced off, but you won't get the finer details which, just take it that step further, give you that extra, 20% that's really going to make a real difference between something that sounds really polished, finished and professional to something that just sounds louder and probably flat. So I think a lot of people are going to do that. What's happening there is you've got a lot of kind of off-the-shelf stuff, and then you've got your more bespoke things where you're going to go to a mastering engineer who's going to be more bespoke. He's going to then get that extra 20% for you. You're going to be able to work with somebody that's more professional and that is going to help you get your mixes to a certain place. So it's kind of becomes more of a team event rather than just people sitting there and on their computer going straight to a streaming service. So I think there is space for mastering engineers still from that point of view, and I think that's grown as well. I don't think that's shrinking. I think that's a growing area because more people are knowing about mastering, more people are wanting to do mastering, so more people are then willing to, understand and appreciate what a real dedicated mastering engineer brings to their tracks. So yeah, that's how I see that going. Now, as a professional mastering engineer, how do I see it going with equipment and things? Well, I found that over the last couple of years, I've been getting more into a hybrid situation. I know that when I was at Metropolis, the guys there were getting more into digital gear and getting more into a hybrid thing. So that's definitely where it's going for pro mastering engineers. There's no reason why they need to go fully in the box, because with mastering, unlike mixing, you don't need loads and loads of the same equipment across loads and loads of channels. You're only essentially using a stereo pair, so you only need one unit of each. So you're probably only going to use 2, 3, 4 units at a time on a track. So it's very quick to write those down or take photographs. So the recall isn't as heavy duty as it is for mix engineers. So mix engineers don't want to have racks and racks of equipment to recall just because the drums need turning up a dB. So I think from mastering, there's no reason for it to go fully in the box. I think that mastering engineers appreciate the fact that when you come out and you go back in, you can add some flavors and you can add some spice that you can't necessarily get from some plugins. I'm not saying you can't do it in plugins, but what I'm saying is that it just gives a more of a natural feel, and especially for me, coming from a completely out of the box world, having that feel and that vibe is part of how I'm feeling the music and how I'm in the session. And in the same way, I wouldn't want to just be on headphones, I'd want to be on speakers, just so I've got that kind of feel thing. I'm part of the sound. So having that equipment, I can dial in and get different stuff. Now, I do use some plugins mainly for limiting, because I like out of the box compression. I think it's just got some kind of distortion and juice to it. So most pro engineers are the same as me. They like a little mix of the two. There's no reason to be in the box totally, so why bother? And part of the fun of mastering, you're at the final stage, part of the fun is to get high-end equipment and to be playing with leads and to be trying to develop the sound and to have your rig. I mean, that's really, as a mastering engineer, what you're trying to achieve when you're putting a room together. It's just your setup, your sound comes from the way that you have it wired and the way you have that bit of equipment before that one, and it never changes over time, and you just bring in one piece of equipment every now and again. You're not completely changing. You're not like a mix engineer who might be jumping from studio to studio and might be getting loads of different plugins all the time. We're very fixed. We're very kind of just bringing stuff in and molding the sound of the room, and that's kind of an organic process. So unlike mix engineers or production guys who are flying around everywhere, need different setups, need some portable laptop things and just be able to be on the fly, that's really not what mastering's about. So I see that mastering will stay pretty similar to that in the pro world. There's not many guys that are just staying completely out of the box now, going straight from tape all the way to vinyl. That's getting really specialist, and you can get those guys. There are plenty of guys out there that do that, but that you have to search them out, and that is when you're getting into sort of vintage car territory where you're finding a guy that really knows his E-type Jags and you're getting really deep on a certain sound that you want. Yeah, generally it's a hybrid situation for the pros. I think a lot more people that are bedroom guys can get their tracks to a certain level. I think that's where that's going, and then back down to Lander and those things. That's just a kind of rough thing, just so that you can get an idea of how things will sound when they're mastered, as in levels and in the box. So I hope that kind of gives you an idea of where I think things are going and the state of mastering at the moment, really, to be fair. So if you like this kind of thing, please subscribe. And if you aren't a member of my newsletter, it comes out once a month. I talk about pro audio stuff. I talk about hi-fi. I give more tips and tricks on there that I can't do on YouTube, and there's giveaways and discounts and all kinds of stuff. It's only once a month, so sign up at streaky.com. That's the newsletter. So thanks for watching. Until next time, bye.